Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
This video has as of late earned various C's on the web. For us officers, it talks around the non-human bodies of pilots found within the slammed flying saucer, which the government keeps covered up from us. All of this took put on July 26 amid congressional hearings at the United States House of Agents, but indeed in spite of the fact that this video has been seen by parts of individuals around the world, it's secure to say that not all of them were significantly astounded. Such thrilling news features have long gotten to be commonplace, so individuals mostly know them. It all begins with the media blowing up. Ports approximately streams of flying objects spotted within the sky. Watchers start restlessly expending serving of mixed greens apparatuses and rationally planning for an interglacial war, and official stamps develop out of the shadows to expose the stunning feature almost an outsider attack. In the long run, government researchers will offer society a more conceivable clarification for the appearance of these flying objects. They regularly say that individuals are fair mischances. We experienced mystery military flying machine that were fair missed and mistook ball lightning for you, our adversaries. In any case, in 22, the framework smashed recordings purportedly capturing fly-wang saucers begun flooding in while government dissents dwindled, and in January this year, the Pentagon profound classified records uncovered that they were 247 on a cave of Discover airborne marvels enrolled. In usfolks.in February, President Joe Biden declared the foundation of an unused interagency group to think about UFOs after a long time of concealing information related to extraterrestrial experiences. Authorities lay all their cards on the table, and this asks the address: why did the Pentagon reveal the truth around you? There are few things we ought to fear. It's June 23, and Las Vegas police get an unusual call. A family claims that an outsider shuttle has smashed in their patio. Witnesses couldn't indeed portray what the create looked like. The youthful man demanded on that. Something fell from the sky and everyone was pushed back by a shock wave. When he got up, he ran to the window and saw that the crash scene was dark and confusing for the family if they wanted to hide because they were not alone. Just then footsteps were heard on the roof. People saw with fear a creature on the roof of the house. The accounts of the witnesses show that we are not human. These are human beings, about 2.5 meters tall, with grayish-green skin and large, bright eyes. At first, the 9-to-1 reporter dismissed the story in disbelief. But he could hear his teammates wondering. Residents see shiny objects falling from the sky. The security agents. They are then sent to the location where a real-time camera is installed. Colossal collisions have nothing to do with lightning or shooting stars. The video captured a bird's-eye view of the family's background the morning after the accident. Traces of a large circular object were seen on the ground. The family also said that from the next few days, government vehicles used to drive past their house. The history of intelligence agencies investigating these incidents dates back to the 1990s. Contains tilde. At the time, 40 Michigan residents, including 10 police officers, saw the unusual situation. This man thought it was an alien spaceship. Later, future President Gerald Ford called meetings about the UFO. Later, all information about extraterrestrials was dismissed and the witnesses were labeled as drunks. Check out this headline. Line from the first article about the incident in the title of the article, probably written after the government's intervention. However, the strategy of silence could not work forever. Everything changed when society started talking about Area 51. This top-secret base became very strict, widely known thanks to a former employee who revealed secrets, and said he never broke through the walls of this military facility. His name is Bob, and according to him he was an engineer in charge of investigating a crashed flying ship. While working, Bob realized he was an alien starship, discovered a chemical element that does not exist on our planet and which served as fuel for the ship. According to Bob, this element allowed the ship to transform into the space around it. However, after all of the TSA's public statements, Area 51 management claims that they had no idea who this person was and had never worked with him to date. It's not clear who Bob really is, a rebel who fought against the system or a charlatan in search of fame. Nevertheless, it is a topic of great popularity. People were crazy about science. Feature films, investigations, and even conspiracy theories, beyond after the statements of the Las Vegas family, whose backyard supposedly survived the sinking of the cosmic saucer. Online observers noticed that near the same area there was a place where people were probably lived. Guy vehicle, Vermont. The family seen near their home may have been representatives of the former Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. This is a body within the U.S. Department of Defense responsible for investigating cases involving possible full-spectrum phenomena. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of the office, says its team receives around 100 reports of similar cases every month, although truth be told only between 2 and 5% of these relate to truly unexplained phenomena. The fact that it is not 0% suggests that the authorities are gradually lifting the veil of secrecy. It has been protected for a long time. Finally, in 2004, the Pentagon set out to spread the word by collecting testimonies from military aviators who would find mysterious objects, but it wasn't until 21 that they decided to make them available to the public. The document, with 144 identified objects, all but one of which remained unexplained, hardly resembles that. Measly 2%, but one might think it was all right, the way one moves when one is told frankly that extraterrestrial civilizations exist, but do not exist. Authorities continue to make vague statements, and Sean Kirkpatrick continues to claim that his agency has found no evidence of extraterrestrial activity. What does that mean for me? I feel like the authorities want to tell us something but can only leave us subtle clues, or vice versa. They must divert our attention from cases where classified information could have been leaked to the press. They even coined a new term, UAP, which means unidentified anomalous phenomena, essentially meaning the same thing as what we used to call them, UFOs, which is probably the goal of the new term. The term is intended to prevent the media from calling any foreign object in the sky an alien spacecraft, and we are getting rid of this image completely. They hope that the headlines about this will be replaced by news about detected anomalies, but that hasn't happened either. That people have lost trust in the authorities, and even if they see a flying saucer landing in their backyard, they may want to cooperate with the Pentagon, which will ultimately brand them as crackpots, but the government seems willing to do so, acknowledge and discuss it. Things that have been taboo topics for many years. While it's hard not to wonder why they suddenly find it necessary, perhaps they found a way to benefit from it. There are 23 famous podcasts. When Jeff Corbell received a call from an unknown number, he responded cautiously and introduced himself as someone of a higher level. I knew that Jeremy, along with another podcast, George, and a competitor, the YouTube channel called Weaponized, where they discuss various unexplained phenomena, could provide a clue to another strange case. He asked Jeremy to investigate each case. Triangle U, a man who was discovered in the United States. After revealing some insignificant details, the man abruptly hung up on the incident he was talking about. It happened in April 2021. The footage was shot in 29 Palms, California. Captured several glowing flying objects forming a triangle in the sky directly over a military base. It took about 10 minutes. Several people managed to capture the phenomenon on video from different angles. After analyzing the images, Jeremy and George Knapp concluded that it was you. But what surprised the announcers most was the complete lack of media. Bridging this incident for 2 years. The most mysterious aspect of this story, and many other similar cases involving the identification of flying objects, seem to crop up all too often at US military bases. David Gross found this particularly interesting, and he was no ordinary American who probably saw a flying saucer in his backyard. David was a former military officer and veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency in the National Reconnaissance Office. This task force was created specifically to investigate our cases, and, moreover, he is the same military officer or who testified publicly in the House of Representatives about aliens on Earth after serving in the Air Force for 14 years. David claims that the United States possessed alien spacecraft that authorities kept hidden, but more importantly, after information from groups, the Pentagon is and measured in top-secret projects attempting to convert remains of alien spacecraft into weapons. In fact, some objects that look like alien spacecraft bear striking resemblance to human-made creations. For example, in 2004, the US Navy managed to capture a video of a strange object. It was covered with a seamless shell, had no windows or hatches, and its shape resembled a ticking clock, unlike other UFOs people have seen. This craft has not disappeared. Suddenly he came closer. Its trajectory indicated that the object was unequipped some unique world technologies. This is why most independent experts who watched the video believe that this ship could have been designed by Dave Groups on Earth, and his colleagues in the hearings claimed otherwise, insisting that flight technology disappeared too suddenly from viewpoint. 3 passengers on a flight from Sacramento to San Diego reported seeing an unknown object earlier this year. It looked like a white cylinder with no wings, windows, or identifying marks. Luckily, one of the passengers managed to record a short video. The object appears to be almost identical to Tic-Tacs discovered by sailors, suggesting it may also have been collected by the intelligence services. The suggestion that these objects were in the new UFOs was expressed with increasing certainty by a former officer, David Group. Only in 23. Previously, I had concerns about the possibility that various groups believed that the funny ticking checkmark could have originated on Earth, and still represent space technology legally acquired and used by the US government in the arms race. According to David, the government has long been conducting a massive information campaign to hide any evidence against us. False existence, but recently, for some reason, it seems to be working the other way around. Perhaps the authorities have decided to reveal the truth, but in a way that allows them to profit from it. This fear of objects entering and leaving the San Diego coast was filmed on July 15, 2019 by the US Navy ship Omaha. The craft hovers in the air and then suddenly plunges into the ocean. However, this video was made public only on May 14, 2021. And that's only because it somehow fell into the hands of the podcast or Jonathan Corbell. Later, the Pentagon confirmed the authenticity of the footage. Back then, President Donald Trump demanded that the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of Defense provide a report and everything they knew about your foes. Former Director of National Intelligence John Radcliffe stated there are many more cases than the general the public knows about. He also mentioned that American warships and satellites have observed objects capable of moving in ways no modern earthly craft can. In other words, he simply confirmed what was once said by Bob Lee and later by former military officer David Group. He also described the alien craft His devices were able to distort time and space, appearing larger on the inside than they looked from the outside. He was not the last US military member who decided to expose the government to the challenge, once accepted by retired FBI agent John D'Souza throughout his. In his 25-year career, he specialized in investigating paranormal phenomena, but after his resignation, he divulged classified phone data collected during his work. This was because he didn't just handle the materials for the media, he chose a rather interesting approach to leaking them to the crew. Leaders of the X-Files, the popular TV series most plants have seen, is nothing more than pure fiction, a figment of the writer's imagination whose only purpose was to keep the audience entertained. According to Heaters on this particular channel, my scripts are fabricated in exactly the same way, having been in both key cases where that's not true, following the recent interview with John, where the public learned that the show was based on classified government material. Even hardly skeptics started watching the show with new eyes. Of course, the FBI was also intrigued. Its agents even contacted the show's creator to find out what specific classified stories were used in the series. After this, John D'Souza thought that perhaps the Pentagon would finally reveal the whole truth about extraterrestrial visits to our planet, yet he didn't exclude the possibility that the authorities might have rigged all of these for stories for their own benefit. Buffett, according to John, authorities need this elaborate bluff as a means of manipulation and money laundering. Quite possibly, these weird flying devices might begin to shoot down commercial and military aircraft. The government will blame it all on your foes. Who knows? Maybe fake invaders from space will eventually start destroying entire cities, and people will never know their real enemy. John also believes this is a convenient way to keep this vulnerable population in fear that citizens will demand protection, and that's when the authorities can step in by establishing the Space Force. Congress is already toying with the idea that it's an army that will be integrated into the Department of the Air Force. The Space Force will presumably consist of 20,000 soldiers, a separate military service. It'll require its own school uniforms and even a marching band. As people of every US military unit, the Pentagon estimates the cost of this whole initiative at $2 billion over 5 years, and of course it'll be financed by taxpayers. Therefore, lifting the UFO taboo might just be a distraction to coax money out of civilians. If so, even real, you have a witness. Susie and researchers like Susie himself will become government puppets without even realizing it. Let's take former intelligence agent David Group. After revealing a secret alien craft to the public, he was invited to testify before the US House of Representatives. Although given the unfortunate experience of Bob Lists, who was branded a charlatan viva, he didn't anticipate such a reaction from the authorities to his so-to-say information rebellion, but it may be too early to celebrate. Maybe Grease is an actor pretending to be a victim. In other words, he might have willingly accepted the debunk bunker, all that would later become a fraud conspiracy theorist or madman, that the truth movement would seem foolish, making everyone who supported it or believed in him feel ashamed. On the other hand, maybe everything is entirely different and the government only has good intentions, while the US unfairly calls them charlatans. Take a look at this composite photo captured by telescopes in Chile on October 19, 2017. The tiny dance center may not seem impressive, but let's explain why this blurred image is far more significant than any previous videos of. With the help of simulations, we can get a closer look at what this dog really is. At first glance, it seems to be an ordinary asteroid or more, but in fact, it's anything but ordinary. The behavior of this reddish rock reaching 4 nerd meters in length is typical for such celestial bodies. First, it entered our solar system with a record-breaking speed of 95,000 kilometers per hour. Asteroids typically move only a few dozen kilometers. Second, it showed no signs of a comet as it approached the Sun. Thirdly, its reddish hue hints at a potentially high iron content, and its composition, consequently, is unlike any asteroid previously observed in our solar system. Furthermore, the object reflects sunlight 10 times more efficiently than any other asteroid or comet. Astronomers assume it could be an artificial spacecraft are deliberately designed to use light reflection to increase their speed, but most importantly, they are moved away from the sun or moon. More noticeable displays of acceleration mean that someone or something might be controlling their velocity. But who could have created such a device? Researchers from Harvard University hypothesized that it might be more than a probe intentionally sent to Earth. The even buying extraterrestrial civilization on top of that Harvard professor of Loeb suggests that he also discovered extratrust, real technology fragments in an object previously considered BBR right in the water. Some Papua New Guinea in 2014 researchers, under Loeb's guidance, closely examined the locations that, according to calculations, lay in the path of the meteorite when it was falling. Little balls, these were perfect spheres, each composed of 84% more. They present silicon, 4% magnesium, and titanium in traces of some other rare elements. Loeb says that this material is stronger than any space debris previously studied and catalogued by NASA. The professor believes that they were most likely made artificially. Could it be yet another set of extraterrestrial probes? The signs of alien surveillance are becoming apparent, with hints from both NASA employees and even representatives of the church since 21. has been funding a program involving 24 theologians researching how people of different religions might act upon the discovery of extraterrestrial life, in particular the Reverend Dr. Andrew Davis from the University of Cambridge, England, exploring the possibility they might have created life elsewhere in the reverse. With over 100 billion stars in our galaxy and over 2 trillion galaxies in the universe, he believes Earth just cannot be the sole planet hosting life. But what if the hypothetical probe was made for exploration but rather for the future and Gresham against us? If so, maybe we should look at the situation with the government hiding information about your foes from a different angle. Perhaps all this time, the secret agencies were only trying to avoid panic, although in this case, the recent disclosure indicates that the authorities might soon be unable to restrain this cosmic conflict. All of these reports might be being released to gradually prepare us for an inevitable counter with hostile extraterrestrials. But there is another staggering theory to consider. It also believes that own government actions are aimed at helping him manatee, except in this case, they save us from ourselves. According to this idea, shocking news about bloodthirsty aliens is meant to unite the world against a common thread and prevent nuclear-armed nations from destroying the planet together with the human race in this area. Was he from Moore's Watchmen graphic novel? The main villain's grand plan was to end the Cold War and save humanity by staging an alien attack on Earth. But what if the truth behind secret agency investigations is far less than his own? We've imagined David's Virgo, the chair of NASA's PIN. He recently revealed another case that could be yet another confirmation of your presence on Earth. Not long ago, researchers in Australia recorded the usual radio wave burst. Nobody could understand what it was, and scientists struggled to identify what instead, but then they noticed a pattern. The burst occurred during lunchtime, just as almost all Australians were microwaving their food. Apparently, even scientists themselves can't always distinguish alien invasions from reheated ramen, so why do you think the government has become so open about your foes lately? Share your theories in the comments below.